Dear Simon and the Fortitude of Forgiving Finery. I think that's a new one. We'll add that to the list. Don't think we've had that before. This comes from Marcus. Simon, my confession takes us back to the... Now, we've had confessions in this. I just noticed at the top of this, it says definite PG rating. And the fact it says definite PG rating sort of gives it a little upward nudge towards the 12, do you think? I don't know.
Well, let's find out.
Hey, what?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Let's find out.
Oh, let's do that. Get on with it, he says. Okay. So let's go back to the mid-1980s when I was a serving police officer in a semi-rural town.
Already good.
I worked with around 8 other officers plus Sarge, and we happened to have in our patch one of the country's several mortuaries. Okay, so...
Already we're on fire, everyone.
Now you know what's going on. The mortuary was part of a former stately home and was in a large woodland on the outskirts of the old estate in a very quiet and secluded area. It was somewhat scary to some, especially at night, and given the nature of work and items stored at the facility. As part of the initiation of certain deserving new team members, we would send said officer up to the mortuary whilst on a night shift to patrol alone, under the guise of adding a nondescript note to a case or checking something meaningless in one of the coroner's files. Before the new recruit was due to head up there, another one of the team, who we'll call the Insider, would go ahead and hide in one of the mortuary's storage facilities. You've seen the ones on TV shows and movies, large pull-out drawers around 7 feet long, 2 feet wide and rather on the chilly side. So when the new recruit had entered and completed the fake job that they'd been given in the mortuary, the Insider would then push themselves out of the drawer, sit bolt upright and ensure the newbie had the fright of their lives.
Goodness me.
What larks we had. Hi!
Yes.
Now, one such newbie, we're going to call him Kevin, was a cocky know-it-all who was straight out of training school, looked about 14. It was agreed that Kevin definitely deserved the initiation, and so we planted another team member, Steve, at the mortuary to be our insider and frightened the life out of him. Kevin was then asked by Sarge to add some notes to a case file relating to a new tenant at the mortuary, and he dutifully headed up there. Sure enough, the plan worked as well as ever. Kevin entered the offices, located the file, and out slid Steve from the body store. Well, you can picture the scene. Kevin screamed and went as white as a sheet, and according to Steve, was very nearly sick. However, when he returned to the station to face the team ridicule, Kevin was adamant he hadn't been surprised at all. He wasn't scared in the slightest. He knew exactly what was going on, and he wasn't sick in his own mouth. Absolutely not. In fact, Kevin went on to say that he doesn't get shocked or surprised easily, and told us Steve was lying if he said otherwise. Well, this just made us hate Kevin even more. So it came to pass that I took Kevin to one side and suggested he could get back at Steve and reverse the trick. Kevin immediately agreed, thought it was a great wizzo idea, and so a couple of nights later, we told Kevin to go and hide in one of the slab drawers himself, and we'd take care of getting Steve there. Well, Kevin went up, as agreed, around midnight. He slid out one of the long slab drawers, laid down, slid himself in. 10 minutes passed. Steve hadn't shown. Kevin radios us back, asks what's going on. We assured Steve was on his way. Sit tight, it would only be a few more minutes. Another 10 minutes passed, and another. Every so often, Kevin would be told just to hold tight, and that it would be worth it just to see the look on Steve's face. Nearly an hour had passed, and then, in the cold, pitch-black mortuary drawers, just as he was reaching for his radio again, Kevin suddenly felt a hand grip his knee and heard a brusque whisper saying, "It's cold in here, isn't it?" Kevin immediately sprang bolt upright, smacking his head on the roof of the drawer and screaming so loud we could hear him from our car sat outside the mortuary. Seconds later, we saw a blur of a uniform run out of the doors and into the woods, and we're pretty sure he was sobbing. A few seconds after that, our Sarge, who'd been keeping still in the drawer next to Kevin the whole time before springing his surprise, emerged with tears of laughter running down his face. Sure enough, Kevin wasn't so loud and cocky anymore. And although I suppose I should really apologise to Kevin for what we did, it was completely deserved, and to be honest, I really don't mind if you forgive me or not. So there. However, I do want to apologise to the conveyor belt coroners who arrived at work some mornings with random notes added to files or things inexplicably moved around. It may explain why many of them didn't last very long there in the first place. Anyway, so there's Marcus' little inside story from the police and from the mortuary. A jolly whiz, very funny, except Bobby is shaking her head.
Well,
Bobby
first of
Pryor.
all, I don't know a coroner's office, but I don't think it's something to be meddled with in the coroner's office. But also, I would have been terrified, and I don't think really you should put somebody under this much terror pressure, because it must have been absolutely terrifying. Can you imagine that in a dark room and suddenly you think something's come to life? I think it's one step too far. Also, you don't know how they're going to react. It's much too dangerous. However, the second ruse I love. So you're not forgiven for the first one. You're not forgiven for messing around in the mortuary, but you are forgiven for the second one with the sergeant. There you go.
Okay, so you're splitting your vote, really?
I'm splitting my vote.
All right, novice night.
This type of thing happens in the restaurant trade quite a lot. Normally involves chest freezers, and someone has gone missing for a couple of days, and they find him or her dead in the chest freezer, except they're not.
Oh, what a relief that must be.
And they normally have a bit of cochineal coming out the corner of their mouth, and I've heard of that one. That's a really good one. Yeah, they normally leave the business of people who find them, but that's the intention. So here we go. This was a double banger, wasn't it? And I thought the first time fine, but second time, you know what occurred to me, northern boy that I am, I thought, we're paying for this. You know, it's coming out of our taxes. Once I don't mind, the second time, you know, who were the police funded by, you know? And I just saw, and he, you know, it was good. Okay, but old Kev should have owned up, and he obviously was absolutely terrified first time. Certainly was second time. But I think, Marcus, you went at him again, and I think he'd learned his lesson. So on this occasion, and we'll end up putting you. And also, you didn't even seek forgiveness from us, the Fortitude of Forgiving Finery. You don't care. So I don't care, and put you in the chest freezer. So no, you're not forgiven.
All right, a little bit George Osborne there at the end. Okay, Matthew.
Can I be the only one who thinks this is really all Kevin's fault? I mean, he was the one who said, I don't get scared easy. I'm the one that I don't get shocked. It's a bit like saying I'm not ticklish and then wondering why everyone tries to tickle you. So he was always on a hiding to nothing here. And as Nigel rightly points out, no remorse. So, you know, how are we going to forgive that? We're not going to forgive it. That's how we're going to forgive it.